This is Marianne Mendoza with Angel Families, and we are here this morning with the incredible Sheriff Mark Lamb of Pinal County.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you for spending some time with us this morning.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate it. And I just want to tell you, as an Angel mom, as an Arizona citizen, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your hard work and your perseverance and what you do to stop the drug flow in Arizona.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for your sacrifice, too.
Yes. Tell the people how you got involved and how you became sheriff of Pinal County and what inspired you to do that.
You know, I got into law enforcement late in life. It wasn't something I ever wanted to do. It wasn't until I was in my early 30s and one of my neighbors said, hey, you want to go on a ride along? I went on the ride along, and we had a few things happen that night, and I came back home that morning because it was a graveyard shift. Came home the next morning and told my wife I'm going to be a cop. Put in my application, got hired, and just jumped right into it. Loved it, worked hard. I was married, 5 kids, so I took every other shift I could get, and I just loved it. But what I saw quickly was a real lack of leadership in this profession. I thought there were supervisors, but I didn't see that strong leadership that I thought this profession needed and I thought America needed. And so I looked at ways that I could be part of the solution. And I saw an opportunity, what I thought was going to open up to run for sheriff. And so I made the gamble. I left where I was, went to Pinal County, took a huge pay cut to do it. But I always had that goal in mind. And I made that decision in 2011, got hired here in 2012, worked for a couple years. And then I had to go off and do my own thing so that I could prepare to run for sheriff, make the money for it. Got back into marketing, had a solar company, and almost didn't run for sheriff. You know, I was like, maybe it's just not the time. And in the end, I ended up, I called my wife and I said, hey, look, we're not going to do it. We'll do it maybe in 4 years or whatever. And for the next day or two, I couldn't shake the feeling. All I could think about was running for sheriff. Couldn't sleep, all day long at work. And so I called my wife and I said, screw it, let's do it. And so, we ran for sheriff, was fortunate enough that people elected me, and it's been a great ride ever since. I love serving the people, but I did it because I love America and I love freedom, and I saw a need for people to stand up and protect it. We were fortunate enough to have President Trump win 4 years ago, which I felt like this job would have been much more difficult under Hillary Clinton, and I was able to get my sea legs underneath me. That 4 years under President Trump gave me the ability to really kind of start to learn the job, get my legs underneath me, and I feel that it's helped me to where we're at now because things have fallen apart.
Well, we're very glad that you made that decision to run for sheriff.
Thank you.
I was very good friends with Sheriff Paul Bebu down here, and I was really upset that he was leaving, and I was really worried who was going to be taking over, but let me tell you, my expectations have been met and exceeded.
Thank you. Well, we tried to build off the things that he did.
Yeah.
We tried to build off a lot of those, and he did a lot of great things and put this, Pinal County on the map, and we've just tried to just take that to another level. And I hope that when I leave, somebody takes it to another level. So.
Well, and isn't it sad that right here in Pinal County, so far inland from the Mexican border, that this is such a hub for drug smuggling in the United States? I mean, this is really kind of like the gateway into our country, isn't it?
Absolutely. They estimate that close to 50% of all illegal drugs in America, on the streets of America, think about that. They estimate that almost 50% of those come through the borders of Arizona. And at some point, I would contend that some of that touches Pinal County, probably 80% of that, 50%. 80% of that probably comes through Pinal County at one point, whether it's on the I-10 or the I-8, or whether it's through the southern portion of our county out through the deserts, where the smugglers and the drug trafficking come through. This is something that we will always deal with because we have the Native American reservation on the south end. There is no wall there. The more wall you build, it's gonna funnel more and more people through that reservation. We still need the wall, but funneling it through there, we're always going to have an issue here in Arizona. It's in Pinal County. It's something we're always going to combat. And we work hard at it. We know this, and we're just going to continue to work at it.
Right. Nothing you can slack on ever.
No.
So as a sheriff right here on the front lines, what would you say is the core problem with our current administration's policies?
They all suck. Look, I don't want to see this administration fail. I don't. But I'm not optimistic with what I see. I see a failure to support law enforcement. I see a concerted effort, and it really is almost intentional, and it probably is, to undermine the rule of law, to turn a blind eye to chaos, to create chaos, whether it's on the border or whether it's continuing to say little things and chip away at the trust that people have for law enforcement. But hopefully your listeners will understand that I go a lot of places and I talk to a lot of people. The majority of Americans still support law enforcement, and they believe in the rule of law. Do not be deceived or misled by the small amount of people that want to undo law enforcement and want to undo the rule of law. The mainstream media would have you believe that is the majority, and that is just not the case, as would the politicians. Because government, to create a need for government, you need chaos and you need problems so that government becomes relevant. And this administration's policies gear that. They're leading us towards needing government to solve all of our problems, and that's not what America is. And so I don't like their policies, whether it's immigration policies. Clearly their economical policies aren't working. Our gas prices are through the roof. Housing markets are through the roof. Inflation is on the rise. This is what happens when you let government try to solve your problems. They're not business people. They honestly don't know what they're doing. And their policies are having a negative effect on this country. And they've only been in there for like 90 days, 120 days. So, hold on.
So, how in the world does this administration have a handle on knowing who's coming across our borders?
Well, they don't. They don't. They want to make you believe that they do. And now they think what they're doing by increasing the amount of refugees they're going to allow into this country is helping. We went from 12,500 to now I think they raised it to 62,500. So the average American understands the impact that will have. That's not going to help. If you take somebody from El Salvador and they walk all the way up here to America and they get to the border and they're trying to claim asylum and they're turned down and they get denied, do you think they're going to walk all the way back to El Salvador? No, they're going to try to cross the border illegally. And right now, they're probably going to be successful just because they have bogged down the borders with women and with unaccompanied minors. And that hurts this country. It's not an Arizona problem. These people aren't going to stay here in my county. Go to Massachusetts, North Carolina, all these other states. They have more illegals in their jails than I do in mine. So these people in the drugs are not designed to stay here in my county or in the state of Arizona. They're designed to go all the way through America. And one thing I want to say is, it's important that Americans understand this is not an immigration issue. This is a human trafficking and a drug trafficking issue. Whether you are a Republican or a Democrat or independent or whatever you are, if you care about human beings like a lot of the leftists like to claim that they are, if you do claim to be about human rights, then you should absolutely care about border security, because the cartels are abusing women, raping women on a daily basis. They use children as pawns and oftentimes abuse those children, and they are extorting the men, forcing them to carry drugs, charging them more money when they get here, leaving them for dead in the desert. That's what these people are going through, and we have a responsibility to stop to deal with that issue. And the way you deal with it is through border security, securing your borders, and not sending a message throughout the world that we're going to come one, come all. We can't afford that. We cannot accommodate that. Those 12,500 refugee openings a year is there for a reason. It's because it's what we can manage as a country. I could go on and on and on. I mean, there's so many different statistics. I mean, just in the first quarter alone, in the Tucson sector, which is Cochise County, that's the Tucson area, my county, Santa Cruz, we had 60,000 gotaways, which are people that were seen on cameras or that we pursued in vehicles or we saw in our helicopters. 60,000 people in the first quarter got away. That's a lot.
You know, and what's so surprising to me is, you know, well, first of all, mainstream media isn't going to cover this in the details and the depth that they should. But you know this information is getting back to D.C. You know that the border czar, Kamala Harris, is fully aware of what's happening down here. Don't you find it a little disturbing that she speaks out of one side of her mouth saying the corrupt government in the Northern Triangle, but her solution is to send them $312 million in additional aid? Wouldn't cutting off all foreign aid to these countries and say to them, no more money until you stop the flow? Exactly what President Trump did. Isn't that what this administration should be doing?
Absolutely. And what they're doing is undoing all of those policies that had been proven effective, and they were having success with those programs. They didn't have to rock the boat.
Right.
All they had to do was continue on that path, but they're so hell-bent on undoing everything that President Trump did. It'll be to their own demise. The American people see that they are failing miserably at protecting our borders, protecting America. Kamala, this has become commonplace. The hypocrisy and saying one thing and doing another and speaking outside both sides of your mouth, that's what we get from politicians right now. Sending money. Look, I've lived in these Central American countries. The solution, I get that there is a problem in those countries which people want to get away from. But I would contend that the crisis that you've started here, not you, but this government has started, is because of their talk of open borders and saying, come on, we're going to let you in. That's the crisis.
Right.
Giving more money to corrupt countries is not going to help.
And she would rather do that sort of solution than even take her time to come down here and talk to people like you, like Sheriff Daniels. You know, I was amazed when I was talking to Sheriff Daniels a couple of weeks ago, him saying he didn't have any arrests in the 20 months prior to Biden taking office. You know, because his policies there in Cochise County worked with 100% conviction rate on those drug runners there, and the cartel avoided it. You know, and we need more strong, competent sheriffs like you, like Sheriff Daniels, who knows. Number one, you guys are elected. And so, you know, most police departments are run by a city council or a mayor, but you guys are elected. And when we have good sheriffs like you come into office, we see the results happening in our communities. You know, I look at the midterms in 2018 when those sheriffs were elected in North Carolina, and they immediately went into their counties, which is an anti-sanctuary state from a previous governor. They immediately went in and implemented their sanctuary city agenda. You know, and this is why it's so important to pay attention to sheriffs. I mean, the local level elections are what really affect our community.
That's so right. Whether it's legislative districts, local, your state senate races, those affect your politics and how your daily life is what is affected by that. Same with supervisors. Sheriffs are a key role. That's why I've started an organization called Protect America Now, because, and you can check it out at protectamericanow.com. It's because we understand that the sheriffs are your last line of defense for freedom and for the Constitution and for America. And we are rallying together to stand together with the people to protect the rule of law, to fight against bad policies like immigration, what we're seeing now, and also to protect and defend the Constitution, which is the oath that we took. And clearly, this is an oath that they don't take serious in Washington. They're not committed to coming down here and help. I have had zero communication with anybody other than my local Border Patrol and ICE agents guys. Those we've still working with them. Nothing from the federal government side since they've come into office. And that's,
I'm going to ask you that because
it was completely different under President Trump. Yeah, we had a place at the table. There was a good line of communication. And people say, well, Sheriff, you're just putting out social media posts about this now. Where were you during President Trump? Go back and look at my social media. I still addressed border issues then. We had a president and an administration that was helping us. And if we addressed an issue, they would work to help us solve that issue. And we just don't have that now. So that line of communication went out the door, and that's too bad.
Right. It is. I feel bad for you guys. You know, what more could our governor and our state and local politicians do to help you and your deputies out? What is lacking on a state level, if there is anything lacking?
Look, funding is always an issue. The governor's, he's done some, he implemented the National Guard, so that's helping out a little bit. But a lot of times, just to get those guys up to speed is a lot of work. So some things you have to be careful, because when you do something, it also creates a lot of work on the back end as well. I would love to see all politicians stand up for the people more, and really get vocal. Get vocal on the media, talk about the issues, how it's impacting us as a state, as communities. I would love to see our senators come down and come see this issue here in my county. Like you said, we're 60, 70 miles off the border. And I will show you places where you can clearly see that people have come into this country illegally. They want to go undetected. They litter our deserts with trash and clothing and carpet shoes and backpacks. I've challenged them to come and see it.
Yeah. Why are the environmentalists, the Green Deal people, the AOCs, and those people coming down here to see the effect that this,
Because they don't really care.
No. Absolutely.
It's all politics, okay? Right. They only care when it suits their politics. When it doesn't suit their politics, they don't care anymore. I guarantee you, if we were going under this same thing with President Trump, if there was 20,000 kids in custody under President Trump, this would be a completely different story. Oh, yeah. They would be trashing him in the media. And I did knock the mainstream media, but I have to give credit to Fox. I have to give credit to Newsmax, OAN, Pluto TV. I mean, there are a lot of organizations that are still trying to put out the truth, the facts. And they've had us on, and we've been able to talk about the truth and the facts. And so my hat goes off to them for doing it. But there's the big mainstream media, your national channels. We're not getting it from them.
No. Now, you've just announced this Monday, you've taken on a whole other project, really to bring more information to the American people. Tell our viewers what you launched on Monday.
Well, I think everybody knows that over this last year, we've kind of taken a little bit of a licking in law enforcement. We've had the media, mainstream media turn on us. We've had politicians turn on us. We're watching the rule of law being undermined right before our eyes. We've seen chipping away at the Constitution. And we've seen that our voice in law enforcement has been taken away. We have no voice. And we had some good platforms in place, and those platforms were canceled. So I wanted to give our people a voice again. And so I thought it was important to showcase the good men and women that put on this badge every day, tell their stories, put the American people back in the front seat of our cars for those ride-alongs, show the training that we go through, because they're always saying we don't train enough. We want to showcase that, and we're going to do it through sheriffs across this country. So it's going to be called American Sheriff Network. You can check it out at americansheriff.com. We're going to go live in about 10 days. So we'll have all sorts of content. It'll be a subscription site, so they can't, and it'll be $4.99. And I'll tell you what, for less than the cost of a coffee or a value combo meal at one of these restaurants, you'll be able to get a month's worth of content. And we plan on releasing about 10 videos a week. And we're going to go to sheriff's offices across the country. It's going to be great. It'll be a great experience. And not only are we going to show you the action, we're going to show you these real sheriffs, but we're going to tell their stories. And I think the people are going to love it. And there's a huge void for it right now. So I would hope that people will come on and support us.
I think, thank you for doing that, because we do need some positive stories and some positiveness about the men and women behind the badge, because, this is National Police Week.
That's right.
I just dealt with the 7th anniversary on Wednesday of my son being killed 7 years ago. And so, it's hard sometimes to be around people who don't appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I pray for you guys every morning when I wake up.
And thank you for that.
I think about so many of you and the environment that we're in, and the hate, so much hatred, to think that you get up every day and put that uniform on or put your badge on, and you kiss your family goodbye, and you head into unknown territories every single day. And
it's, I'm so sorry for your loss, and I know it's probably a hard time for you, but we also saw this last week. We said there's an officer killed, a detective, Benedetti, killed in San Luis Obispo, California. We just got through burying a guy from Del Mar, Maryland, Del Mar Police Department, Officer Cook. He just was laid to rest this week. And then prior to that, we had Officer Christopher Farrar from Chandler PD that lost his life in the line of duty. Those men and women deserve the respect for they laid their life down for these communities. As politicians run their mouths, they don't do anything for us in the end. They take. And the men and women who do this deserve to have their voices and their stories told. And the American people are hungry to support law enforcement in any way they can. And so we're going to give them that. We're going to give it to them through AmericanSheriff.com, the opportunity to come in and be part of our lives again. And they deserve it. And so, but we thank you for the prayers, and we thank America for the prayers. And I'll have you know that the majority of America still supports law enforcement. And hopefully we're going to eventually get it to where if we get enough subscriptions, we're going to do American Police as well, and we'll have that on there. So we'll get more and more agencies involved. It's not a cheap endeavor, I can tell you that. But hopefully support, we'll have a lot of support.
Good. So again, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. And do you have any closing words that you just want to tell our viewers?
We still live in the greatest country in the world. We have the Constitution, we have freedom, and I know people are frustrated and concerned, and that's understandable. But just know that we're out here holding the line, and we're out here every day. We don't give up. We're not going to raise the white flag. There's a lot of warriors still out here doing this job. And we are, as the sheriffs and as law enforcement, especially I know the sheriffs, we're committed to protecting the Constitution and your rights. And we're going to see this thing through. And America will prevail. I can assure you that.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.